See you.
Hey, this is Troy Taylor with the Championship Football Coaches Clinic. I got Coach Mountjoy on today. Coach, how you doing today, Coach?
Great. I wish I could see.
Okay, are you on YouTube, Coach?
I'm on Totem Pole Nation.
Okay, and it's on the
And
YouTube.
the only thing I see is you talking to the Hampton coach.
Okay, is there a link?
I'm looking to see where our connection. I can't find our connection.
All right. Well, if you go to YouTube and you go to the Totem Pole Sports
I'm looking right
channel,
now. It says Totem Pole Nation.
All right. Click on that, and then it'll go to where it says all the videos, and it says go live, and there's a red box.
Just a minute. I clicked on Totem Pole Nation. All right, I see it now. Let me get the picture.
There you go, Coach.
I got it. Yeah. All right. Okay.
All right, so I've got presented up here. I've got your 50 and 60 series, Coach.
Yeah, tell me when you want me to start.
Coach, I'm ready to start, Coach.
Okay, well, let's talk about the pass protections. And the two most important phases of any pass offense would be your pass protection and the timing that would exist between the quarterbacks and receivers. If you don't get those things worked out, then you can draw all the plays and pass offenses in the world, and you're not going to be that good at them. Now, I hate to drop names, but what I'm going to talk about today was given to me directly, face-to-face, from Sid Gilman. He's a father of the modern passing game. Joe Gibbs, 2007. Bobby Bowden, 2009. And way back when with Bill Walsh in 1994. These are the greatest names in the history of pass offense, and nothing being done today. Everybody today is pretty much a disciple of these people, and none of the quotation marks up-to-date systems have improved on these. Okay, so in that pass protection, we have a number one objective in that pass protection is to get 5 receivers out, particularly if you're facing a zone. We want to get 5 receivers out to spread the zone horizontally and vertically. That's the theory of the pass offense as used by these great coaches. We try to get 5 out against man. We usually don't because you lose one of your receivers in pass protection. Say a running back or even a tight end might end up having to pick up a blitzing linebacker. But in playing zone coverages, and I see when I look at films of every high school team in Central Virginia, you're seeing cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, or cover 6, which is a combination of cover 2 and cover 4. And in all of these, people rush 4 people. They rush 4. Now, you get man blitzes, and I'll get to that later. But in all these zone coverages, you're getting 4 rushes. Well, if you don't get 5 receivers out when they rush 4 people, you're wasting receivers, and it's going to hurt you. Because if I can get 5 receivers out, that still leaves me 5 blockers to pick up 4 rushes. So our objective on this is not to waste receivers, to get 5 pass receivers out. And if you don't call your protection properly, you're not going to get 5 receivers out. And I'm going to make an issue of that about how to get 5 people out. Now, that basic protection is shown here, and it's 7-man pass protection. But I can very easily make it 8-man just by keeping one of the pass receivers who check release, keeping him in, and I can very easily make it 6-man protection by letting another receiver go out. Without changing the blocking rules, we start off in 7-man protection, but I can very easily tell another guy, instead of check releasing, you just go out. That's 6-man protection. Or I can tell another guy, instead of free releasing, check out. That's an 8-man protection. I can get into all that later. We don't like turn back protection, which a lot of people use, or gapping back away from the call, because you're not going to get 5 receivers out. And I'll just leave it at that. But you just don't get 5 receivers out when you turn back protect. The offensive line coaches like that because it's simple. So we're trying here in 7-man protection to get 3 free releases and 2 check releases. Check means that they will check blitz before they go out. And I'll show you on this. If you look at the diagram on the left, and that's our base protection. We're fanning, big on big fan. It says fan /Bob, meaning big on big. On the call side, and we're manning on the backside. Now, in order to get you don't see the two wide receivers in this. They're not. They get free releases, and they don't need to be in these diagrams. All right, so we're going to send 3 people out. We're going to send both wide receivers are going to go out, and then the diagram on the left, the HVAC is going to go out. You see him releasing. Now the check releases of the running back is going to check that linebacker. If he doesn't come, he goes out, and on the backside, Y, the tight end is going to check that outside edge, outside backer. And if he doesn't rush, the Y goes out. So we get 5 out by having the 2 wide receivers in the H-back here, free releasing, and check releasing the running back and the tight end Y on the backside. And you can see it over on the right. So on the left, you've got the odd, which is a 34 defense, and on the right, you've got an even, which is a 4-3 defense. Now, you see where I have a little 0 drawn on the nose on the 34 defense and on the middle backer on the 4-3 defense. We're looking at 7-man fronts here, predominantly 7-man front in this discussion. 8-man front it doesn't change our blocking rules, but let's concentrate on a 7-man front. You got a 4 deep secondary, 2 safeties. So 2 safeties high generally in a, say, a cover 2, cover 4, or cover 6 look, or even a cover 3 with a safety one of the safeties coming down on one side. So 0 is the middle of the 7-man front, and it's balanced. These are balanced defenses because if you look, you've got 3 men on either side of the 0, so they're balanced. But we're going to get into some fronts where they're not balanced, and how we set the protection against them is going to be crucial, and we're going to get to that as we go along. Now, if you scroll down, take that up to where we can see the blocking rules for the base front. I won't get too much into this because it's self-explanatory, but take that picture up, Troy, where we can see the blocking rules on that same page.
Yeah. The running back, check release, call side.
Starting with the running back. These are the blocking rules. The running back's rule is he's going to check release to the side of the call, and he's going to, I can't see that first line on the running back. He's going to look for the first inside linebacker from the center guard gap out. He may have an additional assignment versus an 8-man front, but that's neither here nor there right now. So the running back's check releasing on the first inside linebacker from the center guard gap out. The tight ends, H and Y. If you're on the call side, you free release. If you're away from the call, you check release off of number 3. On or off the line of scrimmage. And if you number out from 0, number 3 on the 34 defense is the outside backer on the tight end on the left. The center's blocking rule 0, and he's numbered on the diagrams, which could even be a nose guard or a linebacker over him. If it is a linebacker and he drops, we set 1 yard deep and help the 2 guards with them in because they'll be covered. But otherwise, in this pass protection, we don't back off. We start the battle on the line of scrimmage. But if your man is a linebacker, you back off 1 yard and help your inside teammate if your linebacker doesn't come. Now, that's if he doesn't come. The guards, or if you're on the call side, you're going to block first man on the line of scrimmage from inside out. And that's generally it's a fan technique on the 34. You're fanning out on the first man on the line of scrimmage from inside out. You can see those in the diagrams. If you're away from the call, you're going to block number 1. That's the next man out past 0. He's either on or off the line of scrimmage. If he's off the line of scrimmage, you're going to drop and set 1 yard deep so that you can help the center. That's very important. We don't leave the center alone on nose guards. So if I'm the guard away from the call and my man's a linebacker, I'm going to drop 1 yard deep and get right next to that center. If that linebacker doesn't come, I will help the center. Of course, if the linebacker comes, I'll still take him. Can you raise that up a little bit now?
Yes, sir.
Troy, raise it up to
tackles. Yes,
sure.
sir.
Whoa. All right, tackles. If you're on, you left. All right, tackles. On the call side, they're right and above diagrams. You're blocking the second man on the line of scrimmage from inside out, and that may require a fan technique, particularly on the 34 defense. If you're away from the call, you're blocking number 2. That's the second man out past 0. if he's on or off the line of scrimmage. If he's off the line of scrimmage, a linebacker, you're going to drop and set 1 yard deep and help the guard. Now, I might mention in 12 personnel, which is drawn above, we can put the call to either side. We can have call side right, call side left. But if we get to 11 personnel, which means that the H-backs go flex out, we got 3 wide receivers, you have to put the call away from the tight end. If tight end's on the right, you got to make the call left. Tight end's on the left, you got to make the call right. That's so we can have 4 guys to protect the backside because the running back's checking to the call side. Okay, go to page 2.
Yes, sir.
And take that up so I can see those 4 diagrams. Whoa, right there. All right. This is something that's very important, and I think it really needs to be understood on higher levels of football. I would say high school and up. There are 4 basic, really there's 5 basic fronts in football. And I had a University of Florida assistant coach with Steve Farrior coach there, and he visited us, and he said, draw every defense you know how to draw, every possible alignment, and you could come up with probably 50, 60 sitting there diagramming X's and O's. He said, and notice how every defense that you can draw fits into 1 of 4 or 5 categories. And I want to talk about this. This is important. The first category is an odd, and that's a 34 defense, or the 33 stack. They're odd defenses, the old 5-2. And the definition of an odd defense is that both guards are uncovered. And that's pretty much a balanced front. An even defense, such as a 4-3, the definition of an even defense is the center is uncovered. Now, they're pretty much balanced defenses. I drew those on page 1. You have the protection drawn against odd and even. But now, take that up just so I can see under and over. But now when you get to the unders and overs, and...
Hold on, Coach. I hit something.
All right, I got to see under and over.
I messed it up, Coach. It's okay. I get it. There you go.
Wait a minute. Oh, well, you're going crazy. All right, under and over. Hold it. All right. Russ Grimm, who's a Hall of Fame offensive guard for the Redskins, and who's line coach in the NFL today, he says that 85% of the defenses that they see in the NFL are overs and unders. That's a pretty good percentage. So you're going to have to block overs and unders. Now, the definition of an underfront, and I don't have just the tackles are drawn, but the definition of all underfronts is that the defensive tackles are shifted weak away from the tight end. And some people call that a weak eagle. The definition of an over is that the defensive tackles are shifted strong, and the definition of that is a strong eagle. Now, and you also have a bear look. In a bear look, you're going to have both guards in the center covered. Now, I don't have that on there because the bear look, if we know we will get that, that's when we would like to slide the blocking. The base protection holds up on that, but gap protection, or slide turn back protection, our line coach likes that against the bear look. So I didn't put the bear look on here. Well, it does show later on in the notes, but I'm going to concentrate on these. But on the over and under, all right, take it up now. We will get into this deeper as we go on. Take it up a little bit so I can see the bottom half of the page.
Must put the call to the proper side?
Yes, right. All right, you have to put the call to the proper side. And the following 2 pages after this is going to show that. But if you're playing against an odd or an even, you more or less can put the call to either side, but it depends basically where the secondary is. And some people have the quarterbacks call this out, the protection, to what side it's going to be. It's the same protection, but you've got to set it to one side or the other in order to get 5 people out. All right, now, remember yesterday I showed you a video of Jim McNally and Boomer Esiason, and they were talking about setting protections. I showed you the video yesterday. And Boomer Esiason was saying, we set the protections according to the alignment of the safeties. So let's look at this for a minute. So you're playing against an odd or an even, and they're balanced fronts, zeros in the middle. but you got to know to what side where they go bring those people. So if they're in a 3 deep look, the front is generally shifted away from the strong safety, and even if they don't move the odd front or the even front, in the odd front, the pass rush is going to go away from the strong safety. The nose will rush away from the strong safety. So you'll have 2 rushes going away from a strong safety and 2 rushes coming to the side of the strong safety. So you have to know that in order to set your protection. So that's against the 3 deep with the strong safety down on, let's say, the call side. But now if you're a 2 deep look, the weak corner is down, let's say, on the weak side, the front shifted away from the weak corner. Or if not by alignment, it will shift it, and the pass rush lanes will go away from the weak corner. The nose will go to the tight end side rather than to the split end side. If you don't know these things, when you set your protection, you will lose receivers in the protection. And I will go over this in a minute. I will show you what everything possible that could go wrong if you put the protection, if you set your protection wrong. I'll get into that in a minute. Now, if you're getting an over and under front, basically we put the call away from the shaded nose. So the call will be to the side of the secondary perimeter run pass defender. That would be the strong safety in cover 3, or it might be a weak corner in cover 2. So we want to put the call to the side away from the shaded nose. So the call will be to the side of the secondary run pass defender who's down to that side, basically taking the flats. And it'll be away from the extra drop run support defender that has to come from the 7-man front. In other words, the weak side outside backer. All right, take it to the next page. I'm going to get into detail on these.
Yes, sir.
This really, it might look a little complicated to start with. Hold it. You have to know this when in our quarterback school, we make an issue of this, particularly on a college level, but also in high school, a front and coverage relationship. And you must realize that fronts and coverages go together. They must fit and support one another. No matter what front or coverage, man or zone is used. And now I'm going to just talk about the zone coverage. You see, the man coverage is pretty much self-explanatory, but if you're playing against a zone coverage, 2, 3, 4, or 6, you're going to have one dominant secondary run pass support defender to one side or the other. That's a strong safety down in cover 3 or a weak corner up in cover 2. The front 7 needs to provide an extra pass drop run support defender to the opposite side. So in this cover 3, that's a will outside linebacker away from his strong safety. And in cover 2, that's a strong outside linebacker away from the weak corner. So it says the 3D front family, the front is kicked or shifted away from his strong safety. So we put the call to the strong safety side. I'm going to demonstrate this. In a 2D family, the front is kicked or shifted away from the weak side corner. So we put the pass pro call to the side of the weak side corner. This is going to give us 4-man protection to the back side. If we get quarter, half, cover 6, the front's generally kicked to the strong safety. Man coverages, that's self-explanatory. It basically dealing with blitzes, and the front does not have to be tied into the blitz, but or the fronts do not have to be shifted. You can bring the blitz and play man from balanced or shifted fronts. All right, go on to the next page. This is what really gets, I think, important. We sit down. Keep going. All right, hold it. Look at the top. Wait a minute. Come down where I can see the writing above the top diagram. You can see the writing above the top diagram. You got to come down a little bit.
There is no writing above the top.
That's it. All right. Hold it right there. So we sit down and we draw all the fronts from these categories of fronts and draw our protections up and say, now this is where we want to put the call. So this first was a diagram of an under defense. And we defined under a minute ago. And we want to put the call away from the shaded nose. So the nose shaded to the right, we'll go put the call to the left. This way we will get 5 people out. And I'm going to demonstrate in a minute how if you don't make the call properly, you will lose receivers. So I'm going to do that when we get to the Okie because that's easier to understand. So the call is to the left here against the under front. We will get that front. That's the way you were going to line it. And we've got a split in on the left and a flank on the right that don't show. But if you were going to align like that, to that basic double formation, we call it, one tight end off the ball on the left and a tight end on the ball to the right, then if you're going to put that nose to the side of the tight end, then we will call left. If you were to put the nose to the left, we call it right, the pass protection. So on the under front, we put the call away from a shaded nose. Now we're going to get 5 people out, because you see what's going to happen here. The split in and the flanker who aren't drawn, they're going to get out. That's 2. H on the left gets a free release. That's 3. R and Y are check releasing. That's 5 if they get out. And they will get out if the call is left here, because you're going to get the defense will drop enough people where you can get 5 receivers out. All right, give me the next diagram. Up to the next diagram.
Yes. Which one? You want the left or the right?
Yeah, right there. Yeah. All right, now that's even. And on an even front, no, wait a minute, you left me. Stay on even. All right, on an even front, you can put the call to either side, we see it. So it depends on where the secondary is. If it was cover 3, we would put it left. If it was cover 2, we'd put it right. We're putting the call away from the predominant secondary run force defender who's a flat coverage man. So if you see the middle the diagram shows it call to the left, and over the right margin it shows what it would look like if the call was to the right. All right, take it on up to the next diagram. Keep going to the next diagram. I'm going to really get into one. All right, hold it. That's an over front. We're putting the call away from a shaded nose. Nose is shaded left, so the call goes to the right. Now we're probably going to get 5 people out, because the splitters go get out on the left, flankers will get out on the right. H is going to check out off that W backer. He'll get out. R is checking out off the sandbacker. If it's zone, he'll get out. And Y is free releasing. So now we got 5 people out on the over. But if we put the call to the other side, we might not get the 3 or 4 of those guys out, because of blitz pickup. I'll explain that better in a second. I will take one example of that and take it into more detail. I go to the next diagram. Go to the next diagram. All right, hold it. Now, I'll get into more detail on this. This is the 34 Okie. It used to be called a 5-2. And once again, remember I said you could put the call to either side on an Okie or an even, but you have to put it to a specific side against over and under, away from the nose. So here the defense is balanced. The nose is not offset to either side, and the nose is 0. So we're going to put the call depending on where the secondary is. In this diagram you see here, if the strong safety was down on the right, let's say he's 3 yards outside the tight end and 5 yards deep, for example, in a cover 3, he's going to cover the flat. We want to put the call towards him, and here's the reason. Because if the strong safety is down on the right, the backer on the tight end is going to rush. The end's going to rush. The nose is going to rush to the other side. He has to, because you want 2. They have 4 men rushing. They have to have 2 to each side. So we know if the strong safety is down right, that the end and back are coming rushing to that side, and the nose and the end are going to rush to the other side. That's where they get their 4 rush people from. If we don't understand that, they're not going to bring 3 to one side, 1 to the other. So we understand that. Now, that means that if the strong safety is down to the right and that outside back on the right's coming, then that outside back on the left has to drop to cover the flat. That's the wheel backer. So now we can get 5 out, because H is going to check out off the Will, R is going to check out off of Sam. That's 2, and we know X and Z and the tight end and free releases, that makes 5. Now, if we were to put the call to the left, because the weak corner was to the left and he was down in cover 2, it would look like the diagram on the right, but we would have to put the call to the side of the secondary defender who's down to cover the flat and take the run, take the sweeps, D-gap. That's called a dominant secondary run force defender, coverage and run force defender. Well, protection to the proper side. Now, if you looked at the Okie diagram in the middle there, if we were to put that protection to the wrong side, let's say the strong safety is down on the right in the cover 3. That means that if we put the protection to the wrong side, here's what would happen. The center would lose his help from the backside guard because, see, the backside guard would not be able to sit next to the center and help him. H and Y wouldn't get out if they were on a checkout release because what happens is the H-back, if the protection is put to the left, you're going to lose either H or Y in the check release because the back of this rushing. Also, if they were to bring a strong safety, secondary blitz, strong safety or weak corner blitz, we couldn't pick that up. But all of these things we can do if we put the protection to the proper side. And as once again on these balanced fronts like the Okie and the even, if we put the protection to the side of the strong safety in cover 3 or the weak corner in cover 2. And this is all hugely important. Now, I hope I'm not confusing anybody. I would be glad to talk to anybody about this on the phone or to send them these diagrams. Or even if you live within a 50-mile radius of Richmond, I'll come to that school and explain it. I have a clinic for them, which I do. But mainly I don't go more than 50 miles away from Richmond anymore. I used to go all over the country. But take it up to the next diagram.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going too fast. The next diagram is against the bear front. I think we wouldn't get into that. But there's one example. If I hold it. I said on a bear front, rather than use our basic fan-man protection, which is on page 1, we're going to turn back. The turn back for us, rip if we turn the line back to the right, and Liz if we turn the line back to the left. And we call a bear front a jam front because both guards in the center are covered. Here's an example of a bear front, and we're using rip protection. Remember I said that if the H-back is flexed out, and he's out 6 yards now on the left, anytime the H-back's flexed out, we got to put the call towards the tight end. That's one of our rules. 12 personnel could go either way, but this is 11 personnel. So we're going to turn back away from, towards the tight end, away from the split end and H-back. And we're ripping or returning back to the right. Everybody pretty much has gap protection. The center and the left guard will combo that stack on the nose in case they come either way. So that's rip protection. If we were to run it the other side to the left, it would be Liz, rip and Liz, rip right, Liz left. Okay, if I haven't left anybody, I don't see any questions. Everybody's either in church or asleep.
Let me check, Coach.
Right.
Yeah, we do, Coach. Coach, we do have a comment. Stephen,
Right.
I'm Stephen Gukian, Guckian. You know Stephen, Coach?
Right.
He said, "Thanks for these great clinics. Coach Mountjoy is a true treasure." Yeah, you're a true treasure.
I appreciate that, Stephen. I hope I'm not confusing anybody for all this. But I'm going to get even a little deeper into some of this coming up.
Okay.
But take that to page, let's see now. What page are you on now?
The next thing underneath that is a blank diagram. So now it says how our pass protection handles AA gap blitz.
Yeah, go to that. Take it up.
All right.
All right. Everybody talks about AA gap blitz. I see that every time I cut television on. Some college or pro team is using that, and of course it's used in high schools. We used it. All right. This is a way out base protection, which is explained on page 1. The blocking rules and all on page 1. If we saw that they're walking on the A gap, then our blocking rules. Remember that we have to identify the middle of the defense. The center would say that we would call 0 when the center doesn't have a nose guard on him or there's no middle backer. The nose guard in an odd front 0, the middle backer in an even front 0. But when it's not an odd or an even so much you don't have a nose or a middle backer, the center would designate that linebacker to his left would be 0. The center would point to him and say 0, 0. We had a call. The call we would make would be, as Jim Woodson at Powhatan, orange was right and black was left. Orange is OR, which means 0 is right, and black means the L in black designates that 0 is left. So the center might come on and go black, 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 which means he's got to block he's going to take that back into the left. And, of course, the right guard's blocking rule, first man on line, so he's got the 3 technique. The left guard's rule is to block number 1. That's the next guy past 0, so he's got that tackle. That leaves a running back on that backer. Now, if you look at that, you say, well, that running back can't get to that backer. If that running back's 5 yards deep, let's say, or 6, we put that running back anywhere from 5.5 to 7.5 yards deep. Basically, he's 5.5 most pass protections. But you say he still can't get up and block that A-gap blitz, which is probably true. So on an even 50 pass call where the center has the linebacker to his left and the running back has the linebacker on the right, we have 3 choices. All right, take it up now to where we see number 1 base.
Yes, sir. Steven says it is making perfect sense, Coach. Steven, in the comments, put down there how you found out about the clinic and the YouTube channel and Coach Mountjoy. All right. Number 2, A-gap rule, Coach.
No, take it up to where I can see number 1 base. Right, whoa. Number 1 base.
Got number 1 base. Got it, Coach.
No, you're on 2 now. I want to see 1.
I'm behind you, Coach.
I know, right there. All right, number 1. The base way we would handle that, if the quarterback's under center, remember, he can be in a gun. But if the quarterback's under center, I would move the running back up directly behind the right guard. And so he was at the same depth as a quarterback, and he would attack that linebacker in the A-back gap blitz. We're not dirty, but we would tell him to fire into that guy and fist into the guy's numbers and aiming his helmet under the man's chin. And we're not initiating contact with a helmet, but fire into him, putting both fists into his numbers and having the helmet lower than his chin. And we had a running back there that put a few stitches in a few linebackers' chins. You fire into him with a hand and hit on the rise. The top of that helmet would come up on that linebacker's chin, and he might not feel too well after the hit. Of course, we would have to have a running back to block on passes that was tough enough to take on a linebacker. I've even sometimes put a reserve, or not a reserve, but a guard or tackle there with a back number on. First way we would handle that if we were under center. Now, we could move the quarterback back into the gun or pistol and have the running back, let's say 3-4 yards deep behind the guard, and he could get to that linebacker before the linebacker could get to the quarterback if we were a gun or pistol. All right, now the second thing is, if we want to stay under center, we don't want to drop back the gun or pistol, because that was the gun and pistol is an answer to that to get the running back up there. Have the quarterback 4.5, 5 yards deep, say the running back's up there, that 3 yards deep behind that guard, and he can get a running start and take that backer on before he gets to the quarterback. But the number 2 way, we have an A-gap rule. You can call it anything you want, gap or whatever, but it's a call to the guard when he is covered and the linebacker starting the A-gap blitz and the center is working opposite. In that case, the running back is going to block the B-gap rusher. I may have misstated that. The running back will block the B-gap rusher. That's a tackle. He'll kick him out. And the guard will block the A-gap rusher. In other words, just a trade in base protection between R and the guard if we use the gap rule. So 1 is base. That's how we prefer to do it. And 2 is a gap call or whatever. I'll take it up to number 3.
Yes, sir.
Just a number 3 on that same page. All right. We can also, I don't see 3 anymore. All right. We can also use rip and live as slide and turn back protection. That's just gapping one way or the other. All right. Let's go up now and talk about handling the blitz by the 8th man. We're talking about 7-man protection so far. Now, we'll get 8-man will blitz, but you don't get a lot of 8-man blitzes. All right, hold it right there. You don't get much 8-man blitz against a one-back set because it leaves them kind of thin in the secondary in coverage. They won't get any help in the secondary. And in some cases, we'll have people running free. But since our base protection on handling an 8-man blitz, our base protection is a 7-man protection, which has 3 free releases and 2 check releases. If we were to make a max call, let's say see if we were calling 52 pass, if we said 52 max, meaning that the H or Y on the call side, they're both tight ends, would check release rather than free release. So now we get 8-man protection. Now instead of having 3 free releases and 2 check releases and 7-man protection, now we've got 2 free releases and 3 free check releases and 8-man protection. And then everybody else stays in that normal blocking assignment. Now, take that up to where it says win. Just go up to the next paragraph. Boy.
Yeah. You want the diagram underneath that?
I want to say start where it says win and say defense. Oh, no, you passed it. Come on down.
See it. Win the defense. I got it, Coach.
No, come on down more. You've left me. Hold it right. I want to see it where it says when the defense wants to bring the 8th man. See it?
I got it.
All right. If the defense wants to bring the 8th man, the quarterback can determine this pre-snap, because one of the advantages of the one-back offense is they can't disguise blitz as well as they can on 2-back, because you got people spread all over the place, and the secondary has to really haul ass and move from that position to get out of the disguise and show blitz. So what happens? We tell our quarterbacks, if the weak safety comes over and lines up facing the tight end, that most likely means we're going to get a strong safety blitz off the edge, which is something we like to love to do. We call it bullets. And let's say, for example, on that first case, we got the even number call, which is call side right, 50 pass per series. The weak safety cheats over on Y, and if they're good at it, he'll come late and try to hide it. We do. We can bring him out of some middle field, cover 3 or cover 1 look, and cheat him over on the tight end within 8 yards of the line. And then the strong safety will cheat up towards the line of scrimmage so that he can blitz. And they're going to go man, and the weak safety is going to pick up the tight end. Quarterback would then make a max call, which tells the tight end, instead of free releasing, you check the strong safety. He's the number 4 man in the front. If he comes off the edge, you block him. If he comes off the line, into the secondary, into the backfield, if strong safety blitzes, you block him. If he doesn't blitz, you go on out. That's a check release. So that's how we on the even 50 series are handling the 8th man in the blitz. And it comes from a secondary, not the linebackers, not the inside or outside backers. It comes from a secondary, the 8th man in the blitz. The others are all taken care of. I take that up a little higher to where I can see 2 now. Take it up just where it says number 2 odd.
Yes, sir.
All right, so odd 50 series, that means the call is to the left. If the weak safety cheats over on the H-back within 8 yards of the line of scrimmage, and the will backer cheats up near the line to blitz, the quarterback makes a max call on the odd 50 series passes. This could be 53 pass, which we like against the blitz. 52 and 53 pass. 52 is to the right, that's even. 53 is to the left, that's odd, even though we have mirrored concepts. Quarterback makes a max call, which tells H to check release off the will backer. If the weak safety stays in the middle of the field, or in a case you have 2 safeties high, like cover 2, cover 4 look, we don't worry about the threat of an 8th rusher, because now they can't bring 8 people. So I heard Norm Chow say, when we come up to the line, if there's 2 safeties deep, we don't even worry about the blitz. If there's 1 safety deep or no safety deep, we have to check to see if a blitz is coming in. The weak safety normally is the one that would give that away. But I don't know what else I need to cover on this. How long have we been on?
We have been on for 39 minutes, Coach. Okay, Steven's got some comments, Coach. He says, I just kind of stumbled on your site. Love the content. Subscribed right away, and I'm watching all of Coach Mountjoy's clinics due to his outstanding knowledge of the passing game. You know, Steven, Coach Mountjoy has got outstanding knowledge of all facets of football: offense, defense, special teams, off-season, motivation, leadership, the history of the game, the coaches of the game. You know, this is just the start of Coach Mountjoy's series here on the Championship Football Coaches Clinic podcast. You know, we just started, and he's doing 2 a week, and he's going to continue until we've gone through everything on his computer, which is a lot. All right, so great.
I think I've got over 3,000 things in my computer files. But, you know,
Steven says great details on protections. Probably the most in-depth I've ever heard. Well, it's because Coach learned this from Boomer Esiason and Jim McNally from the Cool Clinic and other coaches. And I just had Jim McNally calling me on the phone with Robert Prunty. And Coach McNally loved that Coach still had that Boomer Esiason talk. So, Coach, would you like to talk? Who did you learn this from? Steven says it's the most detailed he's ever heard.
When I first started the broadcast, Sid Gilman is in the NFL Hall of Fame, and he is called the father of the modern passing game, and he was. He taught Don Coryell. He taught Bill Walsh. He taught Bobby Bowden. Bobby Bowden may be the best college coach in the system I knew. He taught all these, but Joe Gibbs. Joe Gibbs was on the Florida State staff with Bobby Bowden when they picked it up from Sid Gilman. And Sid Gilman taught it to Bill Walsh and Don Coryell. They're the names. I personally knew and personally met with Sid Gilman, Joe Gibbs, Bobby Bowden. I knew these guys personally on a first-name basis. I never met Bill Walsh personally, but we talked on the phone and we traded materials. And I don't know anybody in the game today. Anybody. Not a single. Maybe Andy Reid. But Andy Reid, his roots go back to Brigham Young, whose roots went back to Bill Walsh and Sid Gilman.
Yes. And then he went to the Green Bay Packers with Holmgren, who came from the BYU. And Bill Walsh.
Andy Reid was a disciple of as was Monty and Leach to an extent. Leach in particular. They were disciples of
Norm Chow and Doug Stovall.
Well, yeah, but it was all of them were under Lavelle Edwards and Brigham Young, and they were his coaches. And Doug Stovall came in and brought most of these concepts to Brigham Young, and he had been with Walsh and Gilman. He knew Walsh, coached with Walsh, he knew Gilman personally. So I'm saying that who I got it from, I used to go to Philadelphia and sit in Gilman's office when he coached with the Eagles back in 80, 81. I'd go to Washington and meet with Joe Gibbs' staff. What a great staff he had. Don Bro, Dan Henning, those guys, Joe Bugle. And I would go, when I was in college, we would go down and talk to Bobby Bowden at Florida State. I still have a file folder full of personal correspondence with Bobby Bowden. He would take the time to answer every question I would write him. I'd sit at Deep Creek and write him a letter. 2 days later, I'd get one back. Longhand for Bobby Bowden. And Bill Walsh, he sent me a lot of stuff. I have file folders on all these guys. And these guys, I learned this from them. I did not ever come up with any of these things myself. They even came from Sid Gilman, Joe Gibbs, Bobby Bowden, Bill Walsh, those guys. What I did do is package it together. I would take Sid Gilman's passing game, take Joe Gibbs's running game, and formations, and Bobby Bowden's ideas and some of Bill Walsh's ideas, and put them into my one playbook, my offense, and but it all came from those guys. I packaged it together to where I could teach it to high schools, and in later years I would teach it to colleges, and even I taught it on the college level, and I taught it to semi-pro to the Ravens replacements, some of those kids. In 1969, I was in the press box at Randolph-Macon College. It was Division III. And I called the plays from the press box. Ted Keller was the head coach. And we used this pass offense. We were Division III national champions. And you can look this up on the computer. We won what was called the 1969 Newt Rockney Bowl. We had to go up to Bridgeport, Connecticut, and play for the Division III national championship. And we used this pass offense, and I was calling the passes from the press box, and we put up close to 50 points from snowing and everything else, with cold. But this is not anything that I didn't innovate any of this myself. I picked it up from the greatest innovators in the history of the passing game. And this thing on the protection I went over today, I want to make a point. You don't have to use this exact same protection we use to come up with many of the concepts that I went over today. Let me make another point. See if you can go back to page 4.
Back to page 4.
I'll make an interesting point. A side note. Stephen might appreciate it.
Which one's page 4? Hold on, I got it, Coach. Yeah, it's hard for me to see. I got page 4.
Keep going.
Which diagram on page 4 you want?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you're on under.
There's Oak. I got to go. I'm behind you, Coach.
I know. There. All right, you see the Okie. Here's an interesting point with Brigham Young. All of these guys, for example. We have there the diagram against the Okie, and we saw a ton of that back in the day, and you'll still see it. Originally it was a 5-2 Okie, and then it became the 34 Belichick's defense, or Saban's defense. What you would do when you scouted an opponent, I don't have this in these notes, but I can tell you right now what it was. You will set that protection right there, just like that. Now, from the center back to the left, that stays on. You have to do that because you don't have a back in the backfield. If it's a right call, you have no back to pick up blitz on the left side in the backfield. He's up on the line. He's the H-back. But on the right side, you have a choice. This is very important. You have a choice of what to do with that running back. And we would scout a team. And if the Sam backer blitzed more than that outside backer, we call him Buck or whatever, it's a B on the tight end. If the Sam backer blitzed more than the outside backer, we block it as shown. That's a fan call. Because the guard tackle fanning and leaving the running back the backer. But if that Sam backer never blitzed and they always brought, let's say, let me think back on that. If the Sam backer blitzes more than I got that backwards. Hold it. If the Sam backer blitzes less, let's start over on that. Sam backer's going to blitz less than the B on the tight end. Both of them can blitz. If the Sam backer's going to blitz less, we would block it as shown. Because that means that if Sam's going to come less than Buck over there, the R-back's got a greater chance of getting out with having the block. Okay, so Sam comes less, we block it, the fan call right there. But if Sam blitzed every down and Buck dropped it, because one of us will drop, then we don't want the R-back to have to pick Sam up on every down because it could be a mismatch, but we wouldn't get him out on a pass. So if that happened, if Sam was going to come every time, we would make a base call and block the right side like the left side, which means the guard would take Sam, the tackle would take the end, and the R-back would check out off of Buck now because we said he's going to come less. So it looks like the diagram on the right, on that side. It would look like that one on the right. So we could either fan it, which means that if we fan protect, R-back's got Sam, guard's got E, tackle's got B, or if we base or solid or man protected, the guard's got Sam, the tackle's got E, and the R-back's got B. That way, we have a greater chance of getting the R-back out on the pass and less of a chance of him having to take on a tough-ass linebacker. But see, that all these things are things that I've picked up from these great coaches over the years and that we have in our notebooks, and we know these things, and it doesn't matter what style of protection, whether you fan it, man it, solid, whatever, you have to know all these things in order to set your protection properly and get the most out of it. And remember that the number one objective on pass protection was to get 5 receivers out. That was our number one objective.
Yeah, Coach. How?
And that's particularly on zone coverage. I mean, you're not going to probably won't get 5 out on blitzes. You won't, but if they blitz a man and you pick him up with a check release man, they might lose. You might lose a receiver in the route. They'll lose a defender in the coverage too.
All right.
Go ahead. Do you have a question?
Now, I was going to say, Steven said outstanding. And we've had 4 people watching the whole time, Coach. So if anybody has any questions, Coach, give them your email address. It's at the bottom of the screen, billmountjoy@yahoo.com.
Yeah. Where is Steven located?
Stephen, where are you located? Coach, I gotta get off here in a minute because I got another guy coming on.
Just ask Stephen where he lives.
Stephen, if you could comment if you're still watching where you live. Coach is asking, but he'll email you, Coach. He's in Michigan, Coach. He's in Michigan. We're in Richmond, Virginia, Stephen.
Central Virginia, right on 95.
Yeah, so send Coach Mountjoy an email. He'd love to talk to you. He'll give you his phone number. Coach Mountjoy's the best, man. Coach, what you coming on next? What you going to talk about? Coach, you could talk about anything.
You asked me to talk about count of power, and those plays are so universal that everybody runs a version.
Well, give us something. Give us something that you think people need to know.
Well, I'm going to do that. Counter and power is what people refer to as a gap scheme, and they're two of the four most run plays in the NFL, along with inside and outside zones. But if we talk about counter power, it would take too long to go over every position word for word. But the key to the counter power series is that vertical double team. And I could do probably a whole talk just on teaching the vertical double team in the counter power series.
Okay, it sounds good.
I see people that don't run the counter power right. That's because on the vertical double team, one of them isn't getting off to the backside backer. He makes a tackle every time. So I would show the play, but I'm not going to go step by step for everybody's technique and all, but I would like to go technique on the vertical double team itself.
Okay.
And that's stuff I've gotten from NFL coaches too.
Okay, so that coach's next talk will be on the vertical double team and teaching that and coaching that in the counter power series. All right, so stay tuned to that. We'll let y'all know what day it is. I'll tweet it out. But Coach, thank you for coming on today. You're the best. You're my mentor, Coach. Without you, Coach Mountjoy, I wouldn't be able to talk about any of this stuff. I was just so lucky and blessed to meet Coach 20 years ago. So, Coach, thank you.
Share this with Jim McNally because he'll know what I'm talking about on a lot of this.
He said it was easy, Coach. He said it was easy. That was what he texted me when I told him what you're talking about. Coach, he does not like the big picture. He wants to talk about the little picture. You know what I mean? That's what just like you're talking about the vertical double team. You know, that's probably why he got Boomer Esiason to come talk about this because he likes. Did
he see this one today? That Jim McNally?
Oh, I'm not sure, Coach, but I mean he believes in it. I'll send it to him.
Look at it.
I will, Coach. Thank you.
Tell him I said look at it. Okay, Troy. Have a good day.
Thank you, Coach.
Right,
bye. Coach Mountjoy's the best. He'll be back. Thank y'all.